morning, everyone. It's a privilege to be here and somebody from the largest bank of the country. Let me learn and understand more on the innovation part, how SBI is looking at innovation far more intelligently. The topic of this particular fireside chat is innovation and sustainability, tech for good. Like I said some time back, we are not only talking about innovation and digital, but adding the advance and the new layers. And Balaji, glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming. I'm sure SBI has been doing gigantic innovations considering the largest bank. But when we speak about tech for good, sustainability, because now we have reached to a different level. We just don't want an innovation or technology, but we want a sustainability. We want technology for good. What's your basic view on that?
Thank you, Amol. Thank you for this panel discussion. If you look at the country as such, banking industry as such, last 5 years has been significant progress in terms of the country. The kind of power of digital public infrastructure what we have in the country, by numbers and values post-pandemic, especially with the pandemic, how India has survived, making sure that with an identity of every individual, you have ability to perform banking transactions. A decade back, it was a challenge. We talk about equality, we talk about every citizen should get affordable ease banking. So to leverage on the country as such, coming from fragile country in the globe to top emerging countries, top 5 countries. Number 2, by market cap, India, there are 3 banks which are part of top globally in terms of market cap, and SBI is part of that. Of course, ICICI, SFC, 3 of them. Our aspirations that we want to become part of top 10 by 2030 by market cap. When it comes to IT again, there are huge opportunities, thanks to government, thanks to regulators, thanks to all the tech partners. I'm here because of the industry tech colleagues. I've been in various IT companies. I come from various industries, especially BFSI starting from 2000. So when it comes to IT, the power of numbers, we have demonstrated 24/7. We have demonstrated the digital adoption. The country as such has seen the volumes which it has never seen across the globe. When it comes to the true IT as such, the focus is on subsequently the fintechs being challenged, the traditional banking model as such. No more it is just going to a bank. It's all about banking being part of my day-to-day life. And every industry, if you talk about supply chain, if you talk about value chain, how do you create a value chain across this? Everywhere we look at the traditional model of getting into the model where whether it is a insurance, lending, or payments, not just in the banking industry. You name an industry, the supply chain where there's a finance flow, there's a need for partnering with those supply chains. Banks see huge opportunities.
So, when you say huge opportunities, I'm sure by the time the session will be over, there will be a lot of people jump on you for the various partnerships. But that also gives me a segue to shift to another question on the same line, Balaji. What are banks looking at today when it comes to innovation? How difficult it is to impress advanced innovations and technologies?
So when you talk about banking as such, most of the banks have evolved over a period of time. From a system point of view, they were traditionally being designed for branches, right? In 90s, predominantly it was only branches, but the same core banking has transformed from branch banking to digital banking. And when we ask about how many banks are really truly digital, providing a channel is not just digital. Am I getting an instant fulfillment of customer service? That's true digital. The power of API, how the core banking system has evolved over a time to provide a true digital APIs and ecosystem with their banks. And that's where I think, thanks to fintechs, thanks to tech companies, tech giants, where the promotion of APIs, the supply chain, value chain, which I talked about, it really helped us to navigate across various barriers and getting enabled for us. If I talk about next generation core banking or any of the IT companies, I would say any core banking which is still dependent on end of day batch job activities to complete for starting my next day entry in the book of records, you will become Nokia of the banks. So fundamentally, it's extremely important that the core systems are really geared up. There are already, in fact, I've worked in various IT companies. I've already worked on where it is tested and proven where once it is 12 o'clock, the next day transaction gets into the book of entries, there is no offline system. Systems are already grown and there are good amount of systems with that. So I'm saying India should definitely catch up in terms of ability to handle the next generation future enterprise architecture. The data is again extremely rich. Being a bank, you have rich information from internal and external data, where if I need to provide a contextual-based customer service, right? We talk about innovation. The contextual-based customer is very important. Instead of selling a product, instead of being a product-centric, if I need to be a customer-centric, understand the data points of customer, the internal and external data which is available. The rich data where you can get customer 360, interaction 360, risk 360, and transaction 360. Look at the preference of customer, not at just selling the product. Me as a customer, I'll be having only credit card, but I walk in, am I getting the relevant products, what I'm interested, what am I looking in for?
So, but similarly, when you said open API and so many innovations happening, how do you deal with so many partners? How do you manage so many vendors? How do you handle those partnerships? Multiple partnerships, I'm sure you will have.
I think it's a competition. Many people think about PSU banks again as more of a legacy, but the changes which I've seen, at least personally after joining SBI last 2+ years, there's a ease for reform from IBA, which clearly focus and emphasis on certain KRAs like number of digital accounts opened, how many APIs you have, what's your cloud adoption, what is your automation capabilities, what's your maturity level. Resilience becomes the topmost priority. 24/7 is a need of the heart. If there's a few seconds drop in transactions, somebody will post in Twitter that there's a problem in the bank servers. So we are on the top of it. So resilience, building resilience right from data center, network, applications, making sure that they are truly agile is extremely important. So it's important that we are agile in terms of the technology, in terms of applications, and at the same time, adapting to the environments. If you talk about multiple partners, it's a need of the heart. The moment you start opening APIs, every department has only 2 mantras: digitize, decongest. You name a department, whether it's government banking, retail, corporate, you name a department, it's all about digitize and decongest. In the name of digitization, you open avenues across the board, including the partners, supply chain, corporates, connecting to the ERP systems, and so on.
It's quite meaningful, Balaji. In fact, sometime back, earlier when I was talking to him, told me that the innovation, specifically at the employee level in PSU, is very high. And the people, those who are 55, 57 years old, are also changing to different roles, and specifically in IT. So the innovation is very high. So when you said, what is your cloud strategy, how many APIs? So when you hire people, you also ask this question to those old people: how many API will you transfer? How much data will you shift to cloud?
I just want to touch upon, like, for example, most of you coming from IT and private sector banks, right? Many people will say, after 40+ will say, I'm a Java specialist, I'm a database specialist. But in a PSU, I keep admiring people. At the age of 57, somebody will be interested in knowing what is public cloud, and not just knowing the theory. They want to understand the details. They want light to what is how the network works. So that's really amazing in terms of adoption. And those are the days, maybe in 90s, you can see like 4 days holiday window and all of them. They're not there. Absolutely, there's no consideration being a PSU. In fact, a lot of public sector banks are doing far better in terms of preparation for the next generation. I can see by competition, I would say, being in SBI.
So let me come back to my first point. Obviously, the innovation is very important, which we discussed in various layers. But when we spoke about tech for good, now my 2 important questions to you. The first is, how do you envision leveraging technology and innovation to drive sustainable practices? Because adopting technology also comes with the cost of a climate, right, and energy and so many other things. So how do you leverage innovation for a sustainable practices?
Yeah, extremely important. Finally, it's a profitability. When it comes to a profitability, while we have a lot of leverage on the ecosystems, the digital public infrastructure, DPI being taken for globally, we have multiple factors, skill set, so many things like that. But when it talks about the sustainability part, are we efficient? Are we profitable? There's a pressure on compliance, there's a pressure on resiliency, there's a pressure on cybersecurity. So there are one side there is a huge disruption happening on the technology in terms of landscape, but equally there's a cyber threat security which is there. So when it comes to adoption, I think it's important that you do the system cleansing, make sure that you modernize the infrastructure and applications, make sure that you standardize the process tools, build enterprise capabilities. There are a lot of silos which are being built over a period of time. There's a lot of duplicate systems, repeated data entry, multiple logins to applications. So system re-engineering by system of record, system of federation, system of intelligence, right? There is a need to have system re-engineering. And when it comes to adoption, and if we talk about sustenance part, it's extremely important that you are prepared for that. And you mentioned about the last one, sustainability practice. So when you talk about sustainability practice, there's a homework that is required on the system of re-engineering, starting from resilience, starting from making sure that we have a matured process. So when you talk about sustainable practice, how do you make sure that we do some POCs with startups, engagement with the fintechs, a strong API journey? How do you integrate with certain partners? Certain enterprise components are being available from some of the fintechs. How do I able to work interoperably? Not that I have to build everything, right? Those are days where I have to get everything from myself. How do you make sure there are some enterprise components available in the market, integrate, get some learnings, and also make sure that they are profitable?
So I have just 2-3 minutes. I will shoot one question to Balaji and then we'll come to you. There is scope for maybe one question quickly. So I will ask my team to get ready with the mic. Please be ready. And be ready with your question if you have any, be very specific. So Balaji, coming back to on sustainability part and tech for good, do you think about the impact not only in a business perspective, but also the impact of innovation on a sustainability and social goals while embracing technology, while partnering with vendors and while making your tech strategy?
Yeah, so language has become one of the key factors in a country like India, right? Government is also doing something like Bashini. If you go to most of the state e-Seva, I fill up an entry of nativity certificate in local language. It comes in English language. So language is no more a barrier. A lot of initiatives are being done. The power of AI, the power of data, I want to touch upon. If I need to talk about efficiency factor, right? Extremely important that the operational efficiency is being taken care of. If I need to do a scrutiny, back office scrutiny for a trade finance, extremely highly complex, multi-page documents, going to multiple sites, consistency checks, huge number of rules, validations. So the power of AI, I can go on multiple things like you talked about documents. Everywhere you have to do a validation of document, what is there in the physical document versus systems. So document intelligence, conversation AI, very powerful. When I walk into a branch or when I put a chat in the internet or mobile, say I'm asking you for what is a housing loan interest. Next time when I log in, whether I log into mobile, internet, I walk into a branch, the branch manager should welcome saying that, sir, you have asked for a housing loan interest, you have a pre-approved offer. Or if I log into a mobile, hey, you have asked for a housing loan, this is your pre-approved loan. That's contextual-based customer service. The power of AI is not about putting entire information to the system, passing 3-4 fields like customer, housing loan product. This is a session ID which he has interacted in the chat, and giving a lively experience on what is your lead. So virtual assistants, both for customer journey as well as for the back office operations. I see huge opportunities in the last 5 years. I have personally involved in various startups to biggies, and I see a huge benefit in terms of improving the overall efficiency of the bank.
That was very relevant one. Anybody has any quick question? Yeah, can we have a mic there? Quickly, please. The time is limited. Please stand up. He's coming to you.
Hi.
Yeah, it's working. I think it was audible. Go ahead. Yes.
I have one question for you. According to you, what are the next 1 or 2 game-changing innovations that we are going to see in the banking and fintech space?
So game change, I would say, first thing is there are certain survival factors. Banks have to definitely modernize the infrastructure and application. The legacy way of working with the bare metal tradition will not going to help. IT for IT is extremely important, which means not just ability to just satisfy the customer automation. It's about right from induction process from infrastructure, applications, right up to your application deployment, agile part of it. So when you talk about game changer, the ecosystem, supply chain finance, which is extremely important. Banking is going to be part of your day-to-day affair, which means the traditional banking model is not going to help. If you need to adapt, integrate with your ecosystem globally, your preparedness for the ecosystems and infrastructure is important, which makes you entry point for readiness for future, for disruption in terms of integration with any society, any ecosystem, third parties, in the form of APIs, in the form of any form of integrations, and be part of the journey. You should not even realize that I'm doing a banking, right? The expectation is future is banking everywhere, but not typically in a branch. We've already seen that, but that will be a real avatar. And what we talk about illiteracy as a problem is no more going to be a problem. There are cities like Tulsi village, Raipur, where 40% of the population contributes for social media upload in a video. The power of impact of social media, digital options, not going to be a challenge. So definitely in terms of partner integrations, fintech integrations, your ability to handle the future.
Okay. Sure, Balaji, thanks for that question. And we will have similar questions with other CIOs and CXOs also, specifically on the big transformations going ahead and how they are looking at intelligent innovation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
But before I wrap up, one anecdote which I remember is, journalists are very famous for praising someone, but infamous for praising somebody. But if you look at the investor presentation of SBI, one point which I really like apart from those NPAs and numbers, and which was absolutely unique, I think it was almost on the last page. I think they had planted some 600 trees in 2 quarters. That was remarkable when you speak about sustainability. Thank you so much for sharing those points and being part of ETBFSI CIO Conclave. Thank you.
Thank you.